Nick Newman thought he still had control. That was the lie keeping him alive. But by the end of the night, Victor Newman would stand face to face with his son and realize Nick's addiction had become something far more dangerous than anyone imagined. And even worse, Adam Newman might be the only person who sees how close Nick really is to destroying himself. The nightmare begins at the Newman ranch. Nick walks into the living room looking exhausted. His shirt is wrinkled. His eyes are bloodshot. And even though he tries to act normal, Victor notices immediately. Victor has spent his entire life reading people, especially his children. "You look terrible," Victor says coldly. Nick forces a laugh. "Thanks, Dad." But Victor doesn't laugh back. The silence becomes uncomfortable fast. Nick heads toward the bar cart instinctively. That tiny movement tells Victor everything he needs to know. Victor watches carefully as Nick pours himself a drink with shaking hands. Not one shake, several. Victor's expression darkens immediately. "How much have you had today?" Victor asks. Nick freezes. Then he turns slowly. "What's this? An interrogation?" Victor steps closer. "I asked you a question." Nick downs half the glass before answering. "Not enough." That answer hits Victor hard, because Nick doesn't even realize how bad he sounds anymore. The old Nick would have hidden it better. He would have fought harder to protect his image. But now, he's slipping in public, losing control openly, and Victor hates weakness, especially in a Newman. Upstairs, Nikki overhears part of the conversation. The concern on her face says everything. She knows addiction, she knows denial, and she knows exactly what happens when someone refuses help. Nick tries leaving the room, but Victor blocks him. "You're embarrassing yourself," Victor growls. Nick's eyes flash with anger instantly. "There it is," Nick snaps. "I was waiting for that." Victor doesn't back down. "You're spiraling." "No," Nick fires back. "I'm surviving." The tension explodes fast. Nick accuses Victor of controlling everyone's lives. Victor accuses Nick of wasting his life away. And suddenly, years of resentment come crashing back to the surface. "You think you can judge me?" Nick shouts. "Look at this family." Victor's voice rises. "You are becoming a liability." That word lands like a slap. Liability. Not son, not family. Just a problem. Nick's jaw tightens as rage builds inside him. "You know what?" Nick says quietly. "Maybe I'm done trying to live up to your standards." Victor's face hardens. "At this rate, you won't survive long enough to try." Nick storms out immediately, but Victor remains frozen, because for the first time, he means it. Later that evening, Adam arrives at Newman Enterprises expecting a normal meeting. Instead, he finds Victor standing alone in the office, staring out the window. Victor rarely looks shaken. Tonight, he does. Adam notices instantly. "What happened?" Adam asks. Victor doesn't answer immediately. Then finally, "Your brother is losing control." Adam's expression changes fast. He already suspected something was wrong. Nick's recent behavior has been reckless. Missed meetings, angry outbursts, disappearing for hours, showing up late, smelling like alcohol during important conversations. But hearing Victor say it out loud makes it real. Victor turns slowly. "He's worse than I thought." Adam stays quiet for a moment. Then he says something unexpected. "You should have seen this months ago." Victor glares at him instantly. "You think this is funny?" Adam shakes his head. "No, I think everyone kept making excuses for him because he's Nick." That statement hangs in the air, and deep down, Victor knows Adam might be right. Nick has always been treated differently. More protected, more forgiven, more trusted, but addiction destroys favoritism quickly. At society later that night, Nick sits alone at the bar. Another drink, then another, then another. The bartender hesitates before serving him again. Nick notices immediately. "What?" Nick asks sharply. "Maybe you should slow down." Nick laughs bitterly. "Fantastic. Now everybody's an expert." He grabs the drink anyway, but someone nearby has been watching the entire time. Sharon. Her face fills with concern as she approaches carefully. "Nick." He doesn't even look at her. "Not now." Sharon sits beside him anyway. "You don't look okay." Nick smirks without humor. "You sound like my father." That's not a compliment. Nick finally turns toward her. His eyes are tired, hollow almost. For a second, Sharon sees how broken he really is beneath the anger. and it scares her. "What's going on with you?" she asks softly. Nick stares down at the glass. "Everything." Sharon reaches for his hand, but Nick pulls away immediately. "I'm serious," she says. "You're scaring people." Nick suddenly gets defensive. "Oh, good. Another intervention." "That's not what this is." "Then what is it?" Sharon hesitates, because the truth is terrifying. She thinks he's falling apart. Nick notices the hesitation immediately, and instead of hearing concern, he hears judgment. That's when his mood changes completely. "You all think I'm weak," Nick says quietly. "No." "Yes, you do." His voice rises again. "My father thinks I'm a disappointment. Adam probably loves watching this happen, and now you're looking at me like I'm broken." Sharon tries calming him down, but Nick's emotions are already boiling over. People around the restaurant start staring. Nick notices, and humiliation mixes with anger instantly. "You know what?" Nick says, standing abruptly. "Forget it." He grabs his jacket and storms out. Sharon follows him outside. "Nick!" But he's already heading toward his car. That's when panic hits her face, because Nick is drunk. Very drunk. "Don't drive," Sharon pleads. Nick ignores her completely. He gets inside the car, starts the engine, and speeds away into the darkness. Back at the ranch, Victor receives a phone call. His expression changes immediately. Nicky watches nervously. "What happened?" Victor lowers the phone slowly. It was Sharon. Nicky's heart sinks. She says Nick drove away intoxicated. For one brief second, real fear fills the room. Not frustration, not anger, fear. Because now this situation isn't just emotional, it's dangerous. Victor grabs his coat immediately. But before he can leave, Adam arrives unexpectedly. One look at Victor's face tells him something is wrong. "What happened now?" Victor answers with cold fury. "Your brother may have just crossed a line he can't come back from." Meanwhile, Nick drives through Genoa City at dangerous speed. His vision blurs slightly. His breathing becomes uneven, and memories start flooding his mind all at once. Failed relationships, family pressure, constant expectations, years of emotional exhaustion. The more he drinks, the louder those thoughts become. His phone keeps ringing. Victor, Sharon, Nicky, Adam. Nick finally snaps. He throws the phone violently across the passenger seat. Then suddenly, bright headlights appear directly ahead. Nick jerks the steering wheel hard. Tires scream against the pavement. The car spins violently across the road, and everything goes black. Part 2. The crash shakes the entire street. Metal twists, glass explodes everywhere, and for several terrifying seconds, there is only silence. Then smoke begins rising from Nick Newman's car. Inside the wreckage, Nick slowly regains consciousness. Blood drips from a cut near his forehead. His breathing is uneven. Pain shoots through his chest as he struggles to move. The front of the car is destroyed, and suddenly reality crashes into him harder than the accident itself. This is real. This is what his addiction has become. Nick reaches for the door handle with trembling fingers, but it won't open. Panic floods his face instantly. Outside, distant voices begin shouting. Someone calls 911. Another person runs toward the vehicle. Nick tries kicking the door open, but pain tears through his body again. He groans loudly as smoke thickens around him. For the first time in a long time, Nick is terrified. Minutes later, sirens light up the night sky across Genoa City. Victor, Nicky, Adam, and Sharon arrive almost at the same time after hearing the location from emergency dispatch. And the second Victor sees the wrecked vehicle, his entire expression changes. Even Adam goes pale, because the crash looks fatal. Sharon covers her mouth in horror. "Oh my God!" Emergency crews rush around the scene as firefighters work to pry open the driver's side. Victor moves closer immediately, but police stop him. "Sir, stay back!" "That's my son," Victor roars. The emotion in his voice shocks everyone nearby. Victor Newman rarely loses composure. Tonight he can barely control himself. Adam watches silently as firefighters finally pull Nick from the wreckage. Nick's eyes are barely open. His face is covered in blood and dirt. And when Nicky sees him like that, she nearly collapses. "Nick," she whispers. Paramedics place him onto a stretcher quickly. Then comes the question everyone feared. Was alcohol involved? The silence afterward feels unbearable. Victor closes his eyes briefly, Adam looks away, and Sharon starts crying softly because they all know the answer already. At Memorial Hospital, the Newman family waits through endless tension. Doctors rush Nick into emergency treatment while nurses move quickly through the halls. Nobody speaks much at first. The silence is too heavy. Finally, Nikki breaks down. "I should have seen this sooner." Victor immediately turns toward her. "This is not your fault." But Nikki shakes her head emotionally. "Yes, it is. I know what addiction looks like, Victor. I lived through it." Her voice cracks. "And I ignored the signs because I wanted to believe Nick was stronger than this." Victor says nothing, because secretly, he did the exact same thing. Adam remains near the corner of the waiting area, unusually quiet. Sharon notices. "You knew something was wrong too," she says softly. Adam exhales slowly. "Nick's been unraveling for months." Victor hears that immediately. "And you didn't tell me?" Adam's eyes narrow. "You would have defended him." Victor stands abruptly. "That's enough." "No," Adam fires back. "This family keeps pretending Nick is untouchable." Nikki steps between them before the situation explodes further. "This isn't helping." But the damage is already done, because Adam just exposed an ugly truth everyone has been avoiding. Nick has been protected his entire life, protected from consequences, protected from judgment, protected from himself. Until now. Hours later, a doctor finally approaches the family. Everyone stands immediately. The doctor explains Nick suffered several injuries, including cracked ribs and a concussion. But physically, he's lucky to be alive. Lucky. That word hits hard, because it could have been so much worse. Then the doctor's expression becomes more serious. "There's another issue we need to discuss." Victor's face hardens instantly. "What issue?" The doctor pauses carefully. "Mr. Newman's blood alcohol level was dangerously high." Nikki closes her eyes in pain. Sharon looks devastated, and Victor looks furious. Not at the doctor, at the situation, at the addiction, at himself. The doctor continues carefully. "We strongly recommend immediate inpatient treatment." There it is. Rehab. The word nobody wanted to say out loud. Victor nods slowly. He'll do it. But Adam quietly says what everyone is thinking. What if he refuses? That question changes everything, because Nick Newman has never handled being controlled well. Not by Victor, not by anyone. The next morning, Nick finally wakes up. The room is quiet except for the steady sound of hospital monitors. For a moment, he looks confused. Then the memories hit him. The drinking, the argument, the crash. Nick closes his eyes in shame.